right. I am Daniela, the founder of Mindful Goods, where we do Amazon optimization, meaning we do listings, storefronts, and basically any type of creative content for Amazon brands. How
And
about you?
I'm Daniel, or DT. I run a growth Amazon agency called Straight Up Growth, and really focus on growth for Amazon. PPC is a big bread and butter for us. We'll spend like 40 million here, but doesn't matter how
Love
good
it.
your PPC is if you don't have good content. So excited to do this call today.
Yeah, we're gonna break it down. The fun thing that I like to mention to most brands when we first engage is that there's two big fundamental pieces that we need to be thinking about when we think about Amazon. And one is your foundational setup, your content, your listing, your SEO, getting everything where it needs to be for conversion to be ready for you to turn on traffic, which is where Daniel's team would come in, right? And so 80% of that legwork can be done up front. The rest is kind of, testing over time, improving, refreshing, really fine tuning all those little things. But you can do such a heavy lift in the beginning, and you can do such a heavy lift even if you're an experienced seller that has been selling for years and now you see your competitors entering the marketplace and you want to step up your game.
Absolutely, yeah. I always use the phrase "conversion rate is king." At the end of the day, as good as your advertising is going to be, if people don't convert against the listings that they're being shown, it doesn't really matter, right? So setting that base down, I think, is definitely super, super important. I think you also called out something else that's super interesting, like established brands can also still improve their content, right? I've worked with brands where, they're a top seller in a category, but they're not using text in their product photos, right? They're missing out on a huge opportunity. And in fact, I would say more established sellers, you can see a quicker return by making those little tweaks because you already have traffic, right? You already have folks that convert against your listing. What conversion optimization allows you to do is multiply that conversion rate, right? Like, I know we're going to talk about an interesting case study you have with what 1% improvement in conversion rate did for a brand there.
Yeah, I'll also share one of my favorite ones that I always like to talk about on calls like this is actually an established seller, since we're on that track. Actually, two really great established sellers, but one in the food category, Yes Bar. They were already selling really well, but they were in a position like many brands during COVID where they were realizing a lot of new entry into the market. Snack bars are already a competitive place to be, and they realized that they had just been on autopilot for a while, and they were ready to kind of level up their content on Amazon and make sure that it was kind of staying true to their brand across their other social channels, their website, making sure everything kind of spoke one language, look, tone, feel. And one thing that we did with them, even though we did the listings head to toe, we said, let's just isolate the main image. Let's not update anything else. And within just a couple weeks, they had an improvement in click-through rate of 11.8%.
Wow.
So that's huge. Imagine a larger portfolio of products, right? We had another, actually just recently, established seller in his category in, I actually don't even, water sports accessories. I don't know what you'd call it. Anyways, we did a main image test on his product, and that one wrapped up after a 10-week Amazon experiment, and Amazon projected best case scenario they will see 140, 130K in additional incremental revenue just off of one product, multiple variations within that product, but one product, and they have a huge catalog. So imagine what we're going to do when we tap into the rest of that catalog.
Not too shabby, for sure.
Yeah. One image change.
Yep. No, I think it's nuts, especially for the established brands, like just content, or I call it conversion optimization. They're like making some of those efforts can make such a big change. And then especially if you're net new, right? Like you mentioned, I think Amazon is super competitive now, like for most categories. It's not like the glory days when I first started in 2016, where there wasn't a lot of competition. So most of your competitors already have reviews, right? They've already got established rankings and things like that. So you are playing offense to try to catch up against their market share. And so for new brands, especially, like having great content to be able to talk through why customers should choose your item, even though you don't have as many reviews as everyone else, right? It's super key.
Right.
So excited to chat through some strategies that you're using on your end there.
Yeah. And when you think about customers, specifically, I think we've all been kind of primed, right? Like we're all, it's kind of like what Apple did to our generation. Like they just kind of made it the expectation that things are what they are in terms of usability, in terms of beauty, in terms of functionality. Like your product better work, your product better look good online, your product better like want to entice me to buy this product, right? And I think so much of that comes through in visual content, especially when you're talking about e-commerce in general.
Yeah, and the visual content really brings me to a good point here. One of the things that I don't think a lot of sellers think about is up to 80% of searches on Amazon start on mobile, right? And on mobile, you're looking at a much different experience than desktop, right? On desktop, you get the advantages of your bullet points showing up, top of page, right? When they get to a product detail page view. So you can push through your unique selling points there. The downside is where most of search is actually happening is on mobile. Your bullet points are pushed so far, below the fold there. Really, your buyers are purchasing off of your title, your reviews, your price point, and then images and A+ content, right? So having really strong, focuses on both of those, I think is super essential for that mobile shopper. And then today, I know we're going to hyper focus on some A+ content piece. I think that's an area that a lot of sellers, one, don't even utilize, and they should, because it's free. It looks super great on mobile. But two, we're going to talk about how you can use it strategically in a whole bunch of different ways there, and really open up your eyes on what capabilities you actually have on the A+ side of things.
Yeah, we're going to show you some visual examples of exactly how we build our A+ content for clients and how we stop the scroll.
I love it. So let's start with talking about with A+ content there, Daniela. Like, how simple is it to work on optimizing, right? When you're looking at an account, like what are you looking at for a brand when you're looking at A+?
I mean, typically what we're seeing right now is outdated A+. So A+ that looks like someone went in and just clicked on random modules and then copy pasted stuff from their website, right? And so what happens when you do that is it's not a very intentional looking piece, and it's just a bunch of text heavy blocks all over the page. And so you have to put yourself in the perspective of a potential customer, right? If you're shopping for a product, you don't want to be overloaded with text. Our brain is consuming and making decisions 90% of the time based on visuals, not on text. So what we need to be doing is thinking about simplifying, making things very easy to digest, whether you're on desktop and especially if you're on mobile, right? So we need to be leading with mobile always. And so that's the first thing that I'm typically seeing. And if I'm not seeing that, I'm usually seeing no A+. And so usually not having A+ can really just be a symptom of maybe the brand wasn't ready and they didn't have a trademark, or they just set and forget, and they were going to set it up and then they forgot and they never came back to it. Yeah. That's what we hear day in and day out, never got around to it. It's not that it's so hard, and I'm actually going to show you a really simple way to do it. Instead of, I think what complicates it is when you go in to set it up inside of Amazon in your Seller Central dashboard, there's all of these different options of the types of templates, which they call modules that you can use, right? And so when you see that, you see all these pictures of dogs inside of each module to show you what it's actually going to look like, except your content doesn't actually look like that. So it's really hard for your brain, if you're not a creative or a designer, to understand, what am I supposed to do with this? Right? It's like building a puzzle. And really, it shouldn't be building a puzzle, and you shouldn't be doing that first. You should be thinking through, what are the top 3 to 5 things that my customer needs to know in order to buy this product? Does it need more education? Does it need to show them how easy it is to use? Does it need to answer a few questions? What is it? What are the barriers to buying? What are the things that are going to entice them? And what are the things that are just going to make them go, yes, I need this, right? So if you can start there with your content and just think through those value props first, that's going to help you understand, okay, with this value prop, how do we show this visually in an enticing way, right? With these badges that build trust, because we know we want to say that it's vegan or it's non-GMO, like, what do we want to show with that? Is it a flat lay? Is it, what are the things that are going to happen around this specific image? And if you can think of it that way, almost as if you were building a landing page, that's the way that we build content at Mindful Goods. We're building into big banners that stack on top of each other that create this like landing page like effect, so that when a shopper, they see these big blocks of content and they're like, oh wait, what is this? Right? That's what we want. We want them to stop and just digest a couple more things so we can get them to buy.
No, I love it. I think there's like two really big points I love. Like we use the acronym KISS, like keep it simple, stupid, when we're thinking of your content, right? Because it's like one of the things I hate is you look at like a great image and it's filled with like all of this text, right? And I think what you really nailed down, like we call them USPs or like unique selling points, you're calling them value props there. Like each part, it's almost like a little Lego, right? And everyone needs its own sort of purpose or goal. It shouldn't be let's try and tell the whole story in every single module, right? It should be very purposeful on what you're doing and why you're doing it there. But it's not as complex as people think, and I think it's overwhelming when you go into the A+ module for the first time and you're not really sure what it can look like. But I think when you really break down, trying to figure out what is the purpose of this image, right? Everything should have a purpose or a goal.
Everything has a function. Absolutely. Absolutely. I say that a lot too. And really, if you get overwhelmed by this kind of stuff, one trick to think about is that like your product images is 6 images, but it's really 5 that are allowed to have, infographic or text on the top. So 5 images there. And then you can have up to 7 of these modules. We usually say 6 because 7 you're going to use for your comparison grid anyways. So 6 modules or banners that you're going to have in your A+ content. And maybe even one of those is going to be an SEO module. So it wouldn't even necessarily be one of the banners. So let's just say 5 now. So you have 5 square images and 5 banners that you have to think through. What are the top 10 most important things? And some of those things are okay to repeat if they're so important and someone doesn't see it in the product images and you need to repeat it because you don't want them to miss it because that's the thing that's going to get them to buy. Put it in twice.
Yeah,
totally fine.
Absolutely. Yeah, no, there's nothing wrong with repeating the point. And even for us, like one of the things I tell brands, like even when they already have good content, is do a little audit on how that compares to like your ad search term level data, right? Like there might be, like you use energy bars. It's a great example. Like protein bars is one of the most competitive categories on Amazon. Being able to go down to your search term level data and find like, oh, vegan protein bars actually convert really well on. Maybe that's where I should focus my attention, right? And then you could then make some adjustments and throw vegan, like a vegan focused product image. And I might even do it for A+ too, just to like max out my conversion rate if I find that as an opportunity.
I'll give you a great example of that exact scenario with Yes Bar specifically. When we did their main image, we were looking at their search term data and we knew that was one of the search terms that worked well for them. We knew that they told us themselves that a lot of their shoppers specifically love them because the vegan community loves this product because of how clean it is, right? But when you looked at the main image, you couldn't see anything that told you it was vegan. And more so, you couldn't even read anything on the packaging because the photo of the packaging itself was high res, but it was like, came out like pixelated at some point. Somehow it got pixelated during the upload or once it, sometimes photos aren't the best representation. And so what we did is in post edit, we were able to just render the actual box, the label on top of the actual box, recreate the whole thing so it looked really like crisp and real and high fidelity. And the whole thing with renders on Amazon, by the way, people like to say, oh, renders are not allowed. The whole thing about anything on Amazon content wise is, are you manipulating the buying experience or are you aiding the shopper? If you're aiding the customer and helping make the experience better on Amazon, that's what Amazon wants. Amazon wants more sales at the end of the day. They don't want you to trick shoppers. So that's where you need to play, right? So that's kind of the rule of thumb. I actually learned that from one of my peers in my Amazon mastermind group. And I love that thought process because that's what Amazon wants, right? So I think that's a great lens to look through. But in terms of this specific product, what we did is we enhanced the copy on the actual packaging. So you saw 6-pack. So you saw vegan was the biggest thing you could see. And then the rest of the things right underneath it was like maybe calories or things like that. But we knew that we had to drive those home. And we knew that specifically people shopping for this product, not all of the products that they sell are vegan. So we knew that the ones that were vegan, we really had to make sure we enhanced that so that if you were to see multiple results on that search page, you already knew for the most part, if you already knew this product, you knew you were buying Yes Bar, you just want to get to the vegan one so you can buy it, right? You don't want to start searching through all the listings and checking the titles and all of that. You just want to visually see it with your eyes, click on it, buy it. Right. And that's, I think, what made such a difference is those types of little key insights. If you know those about your product and know your customer, share that with your creative people so they can make sure they enhance your images in that way.
100%. I think you nailed it. I've done that kind of trick with a couple clients where I've had them make like certain call outs, even on their packaging, just like superimpose that text and make it big. Because at the end of the day, you're right. Amazon is looking to sell more products, but they want to sell relevant items, right? Customers, like two customers who like what they're getting, they're not returning it. And so when you're making a tweak like that with the intention of trying to better serve that customer versus trying to trick that customer, I think like you called out, big difference, and definitely not usually the type of thing Amazon's going to be upset about for you guys, for sure.
Definitely.
Awesome. So,
I have a question for you, actually, Daniel.
Let's get it.
How often have you seen after content is deployed, let's say like what happens with advertising for the most part? Do you see ad spend going down? Do you see conversion going up? Do you see a combination of both?
Yeah, great question.
I would say matter.
Spend, it shouldn't technically impact, right? Now it can correlate with an increased spend, and really what happens is listing optimization directly impacts your conversion rate, both on the overall front and especially on the ads front there. So if you, let's say, do a listing optimization, proves your ad conversion rate 2% on across the board, right? Now Amazon's going to find you slightly more relevant on every single one of those search terms that you are going after. Your organic visibility is highly dependent on Amazon on clicks on a search term at a child ASIN level, orders on a search term at a child ASIN level, and ultimately your product's conversion rate against that search term at that child ASIN level. So if you are able to do a good job on improving your conversion rate due to a content optimization against an individual search term, now it's more likely that you can drive better organic positioning. And typically with better organic positioning comes a higher relevancy score. The higher the relevancy is to a search term, the more likely it is that Amazon actually shows your advertisement over a competitor, because again, you want to show the most relevant kind of experience ever, right? It's a lot of times
more efficiency with your ad spend.
Exactly, right? Which is, it's more efficiency because conversion rate ultimately is what's going to drive things for you, right? And if you're converting higher, now Amazon wants to show your ad more frequently, and that's the big kind of goal there, right? Like if you ever look at search results, almost always the first 3 rows organically are also tend to be the first 3 ad placements that you see, right? It's not an accident that happens. There's direct correlation there because Amazon's so performance driven for SEO these days on rankings, but that's what makes the conversion optimization so essential, right? Like, if I'm trying to rank on pre-workout and my conversion rate is below 8%, it doesn't matter how much I spend, I'm not gonna be able to rank there. But if I can optimize my listing, get my conversion rate up to like 12-14%, pre-workout actually you can get up to the 20s and 30s, but on unrated traffic, which is sick. But that little tweak just makes your ad spend that much more efficient and helps you rank organically so much better. At the end of the day, ad costs on Amazon have not, while they accelerated 37% last year, they haven't peaked, right? Like transparently, it's still fairly cheap. I mean, we talk about supplements, it's a whole different category, but other than that, like most CPCs are still relatively low in the grand scheme of things. So your A costs will continue to go up over time as CPCs increase, right? So ad efficiency, with things like conversion optimization, improving your organic visibility, just that much more important in the long run to make Amazon a profitable kind of channel for you guys. So yeah, those ad costs will keep increasing for sure. I've seen it on other platforms, and Amazon is continue to grow, really double in ad spend almost every single year since I've started. So I don't expect it to slow down anytime soon.
What's interesting is that I've heard people say recently that you can't sell on Amazon without launching with ads. You can't sell, like, you can't be successful on Amazon without ads anymore. And I tend to like generally agree with that for the most part, but there's definitely outliers. Like, we've had a client recently that came to us in the food category, and went live, 0 ad spend, and month over month was like tripling sales without really doing much. And there's something to be said for that. Like they took their time, they set up their listings right. They really wanted to make sure that they understood their audience. They were very data driven when they were developing the product. So they're just like hitting the right product at the right time in the right niche with not a lot of competition. And so that does happen. It's harder to find those types of things, but it does happen. And now I think their growth is only going to accelerate once they do start turning on ads and do start exploring those channels.
Yeah, and one thing I would definitely add to that too is like, it sounds to me like a brand like that probably has some good branded volume, right? And a lot of that gets driven off.
They didn't.
Oh, no,
they
no
didn't.
brand. Okay,
they were like net new everything.
Damn, that's awesome.
And just, you know, not, I mean, I'm not saying they came out gangbusters and had crazy sales, but it is always surprising to see sales just come out of nowhere, right out the gate. Not a whole lot of boosting involved, not a whole lot of like effort involved. And they're just, you know, seeing it's got to be so validating for a brand owner, especially a small mom and pop, which is really what they are. They're small brand builders that came from large CPG and branched out on their own and wanted to start a business because they spent their careers working in the industry. And then they put, you know, their data, their collaborative minds, and built and created this product and wanted to launch it on Amazon to see if they could start a business. And it validated almost immediately. Like, that's got to be such a good feeling.
Oh, yeah. Big home run when you do that, for sure.
Right?
Feels good. Got to feel good. Exactly. But I'm sure having some on-point content also helps with that too, right? If you are getting traffic, even if it's a little bit of traffic, right, giving yourself the best chance of conversion is ultimately going to be key to being able to grow, even if it's a slow growth kind of model, right? You still need to make sure that your content's on point to be able to grow in the first place.
Absolutely.
Totally agree. Should we maybe jump into some content examples to give some folks some ideas on what the bar looks like here?
Yeah. Let's see some fun examples that we've created for other clients. And then I'll actually share. Can you see my screen right now?
Yep, I can see.
So what I want to do is kind of show everybody the you know, zoomed out version, right? So you can see, like, what I mean by landing page effect is that you're stacking these big banners one on top of the next. And then once you zoom in, like, let's say this is what it looks like on mobile, something maybe like this. You want to make sure that everything's really legible, that you're starting with these like USPs, like we talked about, unique selling proposition. We have a logo, and really you're hitting one thing on each image, maybe two. You know, like, you just want to hit home on like the main thing that you're trying to say. Every image has one function, one selling point, one purpose, right? So what we're doing is kind of using these alternating colors, using these mobile friendly text, using close-ups of the images, using flat lays, using all kinds of really compelling on-trend imagery to stop the scroll and get the shopper's attention. Let's look at another example here. This one we actually launched with Cartograph, and it became a #1 new release. So this was a fun one that we worked on.
Sick.
Yeah, for David Chang's new CPG line. This is his chili crunch, but you can see just big, bold text, big, bold graphics, alternating colors. But each piece is kind of just hitting home with, like, look, again, the close-up of the chili, product in use, David Chang, if you have a David Chang in your company.
Helps.
Yeah, if you have an award-winning chef that has his own Netflix show, then yeah, go for it. And then, so this is the yes bar example. I don't have the main image example that we've been talking about, but.
And then Daniela, will you go up for a second? I want to just break something down on the last piece.
On this one?
2 or 1, you go on. Like, the layout on the banner styles that you've done, like, that to me is the best, easiest way to outline these things, right? Amazon's got all these modules in the back end, and I think it's super important to understand. Like, this, like, you're using what, one module plus you'll use
One module. One
Yeah.
module. Well, actually, technically, at the end of the day, it's 3, but you don't see the other 2 on here, because
Right.
what I like to preach is that if you can just think about the 5 banners, like one module, and I don't even know the name of the module, but it's the biggest banner with one dog in the middle, and it has a little bit of text, but we don't use the text feature, right? So if you just grab that 5 times, you're just thinking in your brain of 5 banners, like you would think of, what does my website look like in terms of a landing page flow, right? And then beyond that, the other 2 modules are most likely an SEO module, which we usually choose. There's 2 options for that. There's either 3 images going across with text underneath each one, or 4 images going across with text underneath each one, which are generally great modules for showing step 1, 2, 3, 4, or benefit 1, 2, 3, 4, or thinking through the really easy low-hanging fruit of, like, what are the 1, 2, 3, 4s or 1, 2, 3s of our brand that we can show. The 3 use cases.
You've already figured those out on your bullet points or your product photos by the time you even got to your A+, most likely.
Right. Or if there's a challenging item, like for instance, if you use other reviews, like competitor data, right? I'll use an example of, like, Tushy, the bidet brand. If you look at all the competitors in the marketplace, they already had thousands, tens of thousands of reviews on their products before Tushy entered the marketplace. The number one, if you scroll down, look at the reviews and look at the word clouds and click on the word clouds to see how many customers mentioned this word in all the reviews. The number one word cloud across all the reviews was words that had to do with ease of use and setting it up in your house, right? So they knew going into the market, that was the number one question that people had about bidets. How the heck do I get this thing on my toilet? Is it going to be a pain in the butt? Do I need to have someone install it? Blah, blah, blah. So what do? They dedicate one whole A+ content banner to show 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4, and it's on your toilet and you have a happy butt, and they use humor in their copy, and it's a really great example. I highly recommend checking out that one. So that's 5 banners, SEO module, and then the last one we leave for the comparison grid, which we anchor at the bottom, which is essentially you just cross-selling your other products if you have other products. If not, use another banner.
I love the input, and I also highly recommend the that how to use, because that can help mitigate negative feedback. And so especially if you're a brand that, like, sells a high quality product but it's a little complicated to use, like, it's one of the things I stress super hard. And even if you're a product that does review well already, but there's some, like we work with, like, a ping pong brand, for example, or like a table tennis brand, where, like, we have a how to use, right? Doesn't seem like you would need to know how to just, like, screw something into your table. It's not very complicated, but just adding something like that makes such a big difference for mitigating negative feedback. And also just considering, like, you should be selling a brand, not a commodity, right? Not like a single purchase item. And so being able to provide, that instructionary information, like in your photos, not only is it going to, like, help negate negative feedback, but it also helps bring back buyers, right? Because there might be folks that maybe they didn't want to leave you a negative review, but they tried it, didn't work. And so now they're not going to trust that brand down the line, right? But if it was really a how to use issue and not an actual product issue, right, you want to try to mitigate that as much as possible. So I think that's one of the lowest hanging fruits. And then also brings me to, like, the cross promotion module. I think that's one of the other big pieces. Like, if you're selling a brand, you should talk about the fact that you have other items there, right? Like, this might be introductory item, but I've got brands where I only advertise 2 out of 50 items in the catalog, right? And those are my new customer acquisition items. But because we're doing cross promotion on, things like those modules that you mentioned, those other items grow over time, as well as, my new customer acquisition items grow. So definitely don't be afraid to drive things home.
And are you guys utilizing virtual bundles as well?
I love virtual bundles.
I love looking at them on the screen because they take up so much real estate. And by the way, that's why I recommend use all your 7 modules in this A+ content. If Amazon is giving you a pixel of space, use the pixel of space to your advantage. Use everything they're giving you for free.
Yeah, exactly. And, like, virtual bundles, like, great free option there. Amazon will pick and pack. But also from an ads perspective, now their ads get pushed further away from your page, right? Like I love to conquest competitors.
Oh, love
Yeah,
that. So like a
people don't think
defense
about that.
mechanism. Look at you.
Yes, yes, that's why they pay us the big dollars.
I
No,
love
but
it.
it's low hanging fruit just on that alone, right? Like now, all those what's it called, like the ASIN targeting campaigns and the sponsored products related to these items, now it's pushed super far below. Virtual bundles actually goes above the ads themselves. So little pro tip there, it's definitely helpful.
Fantastic. Fantastic. Yeah. I think that things like that are so strategic. Another one that we push is like, if you have video content, I think people are afraid to put their video content on Amazon because there are guidelines, right? You just need to edit and take out anything that's leading to your website or anything that's like not high quality or whatever. Like obviously that stuff is not going to pass, but generally speaking, you don't need high production value video. You could be taking a video like this that we're shooting right now and take clips of it and make it video shorts on your product pages so that your competitors' videos don't show up below the fold, right? So it's like thinking through all of those little tiny levers that Amazon is giving you for free to basically defend your product pages away from all these distractions of ads that your competitors are going to be doing on your pages.
Oh yeah, no, and then all right, since we're on the vein of like free little tweaks, Amazon posts like one of the easiest things you can do, and you get free impressions on mobile on your competitors, right? And all you have to do is just like do the same type of post that you're probably already doing for social, right? Just incorporate that into
right.
your day-to-day
and it's
thing.
even easier because there's really no like there's not a whole lot of fancy features or anything. It's just like post.
Yeah, literally just post, and this will show up on other people's pages. Like why not?
Yeah, and your video shorts show up on other people's pages too.
I saw that, and I saw they're doing some weird changes on like moving them places. It's been interesting. So
you can have custom covers. So like all 6 videos that you upload, like imagine if they each had a cover like this, 1, 2, 3, 4, and then you had almost a story going all the way across, right?
Ooh.
We did something like that with YesBar. You can take a look at their page. It's
That's
pretty
cool.
awesome. And we did it with just repurposing content that they already had, right? We're not trying to reinvent the wheel. Obviously, there's really simple content you can put out that just like start with a hook, add 2 or 3 benefits to your video, and show some kind of visually enticing graphics that are moving across the screen, animations, right? Super simple. You can build this stuff in Canva. But if you already have influencer videos, if you already have content that you guys have shot for your company, think through taking little 15-second clips, 20-second clips, add a cover, add some keywords to your description, upload it, call it a day, just so that you can at the very least defend your listing.
I agree.
What was the other thing I was going to say? So the other actual number one piece of content that performs on Amazon, this was actually done in a study, and I don't remember who did the study, but then we did a secondary study with PickFood just to validate it. The number one image that shoppers look for or that converts shoppers with e-com is product in use. So if you can show the product very similar to like this, showing how it's going to look on your food or how it's going to look when you're eating it, like David, you're going to look so happy eating your chili on your little banh mi taco thing here, right? Like you want to show your product in use at the gym if it's a gym product. You want to show like how have people identify with how this product is going to transform their life, their body, their soul, their whatever it is. You want them to identify with that. So showing the person, showing the place, showing the food, showing the whatever it is, that's product in use. And it's shown to be the number one effective image. And the second image that I love thinking about is us versus them images, just because I think they're so powerful for Amazon specifically. You're in this sea of competitors, right? So anything you can do to show, here's what we stand for and here's all the rest, that is so powerful on Amazon.
Yeah, I love those comparison modules, especially if like you have call them like product differentiators, right? And sometimes it's hard. Sometimes you don't have that much, and so there's other kind of things you can kind of build into it. But like if you really do have a key distinction, like there's no reason not to be leveraging some of those, like us versus type of images there.
I think YesBar, I don't remember if we did a us versus them or maybe a testimonial image in the product images, but if you look at their A+ content breakdown, if I walk you through the function of first image, USP, right? Like we're introducing you to like what makes us unique. The second piece is to build social proof and trust through media mentions and testimonials. They were super lucky to have like Cindy Crawford as a testimonial, but you don't have to have that, right? The third piece is like, always tell your brand story. And your brand story is great if you're the face. You have to be your brand story can be what you stand for as a company. Your brand story can be the values that you have and the quality that you stand for. And so I think people get afraid to show that. It's obviously better if you can show yourself. It always lends itself to building trust, right? Like we've had people send our clients messages saying like, oh, I heard your story that your two sisters have started this company and you give back to animal welfare. And I love that. So I support your product. And I'm like your number one fan, right? Like that kind of stuff rings true even on Amazon, and anything you can do on Amazon to show that you're the shop local of Amazon. You're the brand builder. You're the real human being that could be someone's next door neighbor. You're not just some big Nestle coming in and, just trying to sell 1,000 sugar bars on Amazon. You're the real deal person. That's what people want to see in today's marketplaces, right?
Yeah, no, and I think the brand story, like, like I was saying earlier on, selling an item versus selling a commodity versus selling a brand, right? Like Amazon acquisition is going to get more and more expensive. We need to drive more and more of a brand there, because like that's why they'll come back and buy from you, right? That's why when they introduce an item, is they're like, I stick with this brand. Like, yes, the product is something that customers are looking for, but you can get a lot of buy-in just off brand alone, for sure.
Right. So here's another example. Again, landing page effect. Who are we identifying with? Parents and kids. So we want to show as many kids as possible on every image. We want to show happy kids, hungry kids, kids and moms, like that's what we're showing. We're showing their backpacks because they're going to be using this in school. We're showing them playing in the yard and they got it in their hands, like this is really what we want to convey.
Sick. I love it.
Right? Throughout the whole thing. And if you just look at it at a glance, you get that like right away. So we're talking about how it's fun and easy. It's a parent trifecta because the kids love it, the parents love it, and it's convenient. We're talking about how it's healthy, it's naturally delicious. Look, again, these like happy kids. And we're not like repeating the same kids, but we have just like lots of different shots of kids throughout. But then we're also incorporating their colors, close-up shots of the product. One thing specifically for this brand that was kind of interesting is what's popular in the marketplace today is like gummies, right? Like we all know that kids love like gummy snacks. It's not so great for their teeth. But this is actually like a freeze-dried crunchy snack. So it actually uses a lot of the same keywords as a gummy without it being a gummy. Like fruit snack, you would usually search for a fruit snack gummy, but this isn't a fruit snack gummy. It's just a fruit snack. Right? So we really clearly from the main image had to show parents that it's crunchy, that it's hard, that it's not a gummy, because the last thing you want is to launch a product and then get negative reviews that they thought they were buying a gummy and they got something hard. Right? So that had to be like front and center. Exactly. So that's like what we did in the product images. We really fine-tuned like the language to show people crunch, to show people close-ups of the actual pieces, and make sure that you saw that from search. Let's look at this one here.
Super coffee.
Yeah, again, like look at like a whole banner dedicated to your brand, right? Like normally I wouldn't recommend this for a brand that's not well known, but for a super coffee, it's where it
brand
works.
Awareness.
Yeah. And so because it's a lot of real estate, like if you're a smaller brand, you want to use this real estate to your advantage. If you're a dominator in your category, go for it. So clean infographic, clean call outs, mobile friendly all the way down, badges to build trust, product in use, and then a actual like custom comparison.
And I think an important distinction here too is like, while all of these are different products, different stories, different brands, right? It's almost the same formula. You're just plugging in different content, right? And this would be, if you're a brand with multiple items within your catalog, or you sell different types of brands, like none of these are necessarily that, like the feel is all the same, right? It's things like colors, images, what your USPs are, that changes.
Mobile friendly text.
But
Yeah.
like, it's formulaic, right? That's the thing that's nice about this, is it's not super complicated, right? It's something that, a brand can do on their own or with the right partner.
Exactly.
But it doesn't have to be a huge endeavor to get these things done, right? Like, they can be
Exactly.
done as long as you've got a couple assets to get things going and you understand what your brand is, right? Or the product you're selling.
Exactly. And I think again, it comes down to like not getting confused with the modules that Amazon's giving you and thinking through your core USPs from the get-go, nailing those. And once you nail those, it's easier to think about the creative. It's easier to build beyond that. And if you're stuck, go and look at what the top 5 sellers are doing in your category and write down, like, this is an us versus them image. This is an image that talks about benefits. This is an image that talks about what our customer is going to feel, the transformation. This is the image that talks about how to use the product. This is the image that, you know what I mean? And if you do that with like the top 5 to 10 brands in your specific category, you're going to see similarities. You're going to see, oh, wow, in the top 10,
they all do
5
the
of
same
them
things.
are, 5 of them are using 3 of the same types of graphics. We need to make sure that we set up those 3 graphics. And then the other 2, we can kind of have fun with and customize those to our brand, right? This is one that is actually, this is an old version. This is actually my brand. This is an old, it actually looks way better than this. This is an old version. This is a fun one, right? You can divide up the images across 2, even 3 if you wanted to. If you had a long, imagine if this was one pan going this way, another pan going this way, and another pan going this way. And you only had these huge flat lay banners of these pans going all the way down the page. That is something you could do. If you didn't have media mentions like they did, if you didn't have other things that you needed to talk about, like, this could be something that's super compelling, that you just drop these USPs right on top of the image, and you could have gone all the way down the page like this. Here's another one.
Spot on.
This is what I mean by like your customer wants to identify with the product, right? So your customer wants to see themselves when they're looking at this. They want to see themselves hiking. They want to see themselves doing their water sports. They want to see themselves in the images, right? And if they can see themselves, they're like, oh, that's perfect. We might be on the water. We need to get this, or we're about to go hiking, and this would be perfect for when we go rafting. Or we're going to do a camping trip. This might come in handy someday. So just showing your product in use so that people can identify with it. Again, an old piece of content. Let's see what else we have here. Yeah, again, not rocket science, but you can see how all of these are using the same formula. Strong
same
USP,
formula,
alternating
but completely
colors.
Different message, right? Like, and it's written towards that customer that they want to be talking to, right? I think that's the key there, right? It's like the modules part 1, right? Like, getting that template is like the first half. The second half is understanding what you're selling, against your market and things like that, to build content that makes sense, right? So there's definitely some critical thinking pieces that I think are important for the brands to know. Like, Daniela's making this look super easy there, which it can be, but there's a little bit more to it on that front there. But yeah, this is like so helpful across the board. I think one last thing we should chat about is measuring the impact there.
Oh my gosh.
Some stories there. But yeah, I think if you're a seller or kind of a brand there, one thing to look at is like the manage experiment section in the back end of Seller Central. It's a great new kind of feature. I don't think many people use it as much as they can, but basically it allows you to test individual changes to listing content, right? So like Daniela, when she spoke through that story of changing the main image with Amazon's experience tab, you can literally directly A/B test, right? And Amazon will evenly pace out, image A versus image B, right? And tell you what, the potential likelihood is from an increase from sales. It can, kind of give you even a percentage on what that probability looks like. So sometimes you might make a change and there's not a big, kind of kind of lift, but that's okay. Right now you have actual data behind it, and it'll flight it appropriately. Yeah, do you know what else specifically you can test on there? I know there's quite a few things.
Yeah, so it's titles, main images, and A+ content. And the way that I break it down is there's really two ways to test: off of Amazon and on Amazon. Off of Amazon, you can pre-validate your content. Really, we use this for main images with something like PickFu. It can cost you $100, maybe $300 max. You can pull 50 Amazon shoppers in your category if you wanted to, and you can ask them, which image would you click on to buy this product? Which image would you most likely help you buy this product, right? And that right there is going to give you quantitative and qualitative data. It's going to help you understand what are the other things that maybe you missed out on this image that you didn't think about. Yes Bar's example was a great example of that, right? We wouldn't have known that people were wondering if the bar was vegan if we hadn't have done that split test, right? So it's funny that you're like creeping up on the screen right now.
Okay.
I'm like, oh man, you came with some moves, right? I'm like,
I got the moves. Watch out.
Okay, so that's the first one: pre-validation with PickFu for your main images, and then secondarily, manage your manage your experiments on Amazon, totally free. But the downside is you have to wait. Amazon is recommending 8 to 10 weeks. You can do a 4-week test. We recommend an 8 to 10 weeks. But the way that you can tee it up is that you can do all 3 tests throughout the year. So just set one, forget about it, come back, check on it when it ends, and look at the data that Amazon is giving you, because they're going to tell you very concretely, this image won by X amount %, and they give you the projections of what they anticipate you are going to sell because of this image change. They're going to say, this image won. If you keep this image and you delete the other image, you can expect on average this amount of revenue, and in a best case scenario, even this amount of revenue. So that right there is Amazon telling you that your image worked or didn't work. And this has worked for us with even the tiniest little brands that basically have like no traffic, and to the largest brands that are top sellers in their category. We've seen suggestions from Amazon of an increase of like, I think it was like $2,000 that a brand was going to get back over the course of a year. And then we've seen some that are projecting over $130,000, $140,000 from one product, from one image change. So this is the kind of gains that you can expect to see when you're getting granular with your content. And it's something that you should always be testing. Like, get the 80% done, get it done right. And then also set yourself up for success by constantly testing these 3 elements that Amazon is giving you this data for.
Yeah, no, I think that's huge. I like the 80% there rule. I think is huge. I think establishing that baseline is super important, but Amazon's giving us the tools to actually improve upon that, right? We don't have to just like guesstimate anymore. Like, Amazon is actually giving you like the chance to do a proper A/B test, right? Using their system. And then, as a general pro tip there, I'd say the more really sessions or traffic you have, right, the more accurate or the even higher degree of confidence Amazon's going to have in the success of that change as well, right? So
right.
Your bigger account, like that's why we push the beginning of this call, like, don't forget about optimizing your content just because you're doing well, right? Doesn't mean that your content is as good as it can be, right? A little tweak when you're already doing well can be that $100,000 change,
that's exactly what happened with this one client. They're already a top seller in their category. This one change on this one product is going to increase their revenue 130K possibly.
Yep.
Off one product, and they have a huge catalog. Imagine if they start applying these changes across their entire catalog. We're talking about $1 million differences.
Not bad. It adds up. I wouldn't mind. I'll take one of those. Send it my way.
Yeah.
Oh man.
Yeah.
Well, this has been super awesome. Here, I feel like we could nerd about this all day long, but I'm sure people will get bored eventually. So why don't you tell people how they can get in touch with you?
Oh man, if you want basically our training on how to do content in 3 steps, the way that we deploy content, we have an awesome free training at launchreadylistings.com. And then if you want to reach out to us, you can head to mindfulgoods.co.
Awesome. Yeah, we'll throw some links in this post as well. And then I'm DT from Straight Up Growth. You can find us at straightupgrowth.com or reach out to me on LinkedIn. Chat about what we do on the free audit. We'll tear your account up. Let's take a look.